Hey everyone, this is Arado again with part 2 of the upcoming New Year banner. This time we're going to be covering Rastaban, Ciato, and Ildon. I want to give a quick shout out to Lupinus-san for the awesome New Year Ildon artwork we have on display. When you have the chance, please visit her page. Her Twitter handle is at lupinus underscore. She does artwork for Saga and some other games as well. And her art style is pretty unique in my opinion, with the different background and stuff. And she has her way of drawing the characters, which is pretty cool. So yeah, when you have the chance, please visit her page. And Lupinus-san, thank you so much for the artwork. And with that, we're gonna start the banner rundown with Rastaban. So Rastaban is kind of like Princess Ray in a way, where they do a lot of willpower debuffing. For Rastaban, it's gonna be his skill number 3, which does both willpower and endurance debuff. With his free S style, he's able to debuff willpower every turn with Shrill, the same skill that Wicked Witch has. So Rastaban has that. And then on top of doing willpower debuff, he's also able to do moral down for Greatsword, or if you still don't have a moral down character, then getting Rastaban for the moral down effect would be pretty helpful because of how the hard contents are evolving right now, where having a moral down is going to be super useful in a way that would allow you to sustain enemy attacks as much as possible. And then as far as farming goes, this is where it gets a little iffy for Rastaban because he has the Mystic Power, which is a 25% chance to gain all attributes up and then BP plus 3 at the start of turn. So that means he can do an 8-8 rotation, whether it be an AoE with his skill number 3 or with Tuba Mega Eshi or Swallow Reversal Plus from his free S-Style. But the problem is the consistency with that because you're rolling on the 25% chance to gain BP plus 3. So if you're relying on that for a 2-rounder farming, then it might be hard for you to remain consistent and getting the same result as far as farming goes. So that's why that's where I struggle with both Rastaban and Ciato actually, because it's hard to decide on what kind of farming they can do because it's not just hard content that we kind of run through the characters, right? So yeah, that's it for Rastaban. I think for Rastaban he can do AoE with skill number 3, and then he can default with Shrill from the free S style because his skill or it's either that or he can gain some BP random BP plus 3 and then use his skill number 2 somewhere in that rotation. So that works as well. The downside is with Shrill and skill number 2 that he has to equip a Dark Element Greatsword. So he won't be able to benefit from the Remembrance Battle Greatsword if anything. Unless, you don't care for damage for those two skills. Alright, so next up would be Ciato. So Ciato is a super reliable single target DPS. So as far as bossing goes, he would be able to gain heat up and then defense up as well, maximum by turn number 3. So by turn 4, you should have the maximum effect already. As far as rotation goes, for hard content, personally, I went for Epee Blade because Epee Blade gives Dex buff to himself, so that would just greatly improve his damage overall, along with skill number 3, further buffing Dex to him as well. There's not much to say about Ciato other than being a good single target DPS. It's hard for him to be a single target farmer because he doesn't have any 8 BP skill, and he falls in the same problem as Rastaban, where if you want him to do good in farming, that you would have to rely on his 25% chance at turn start gain BP plus 3 from Mystic Power, which is, in my opinion, not really a good way um, to go for that, consistent farming rotation. So the only thing I could see is having that Stingray inherit from his free S style, so he can do like a 2-rounder AoE farming. But other than that, he would be a good one shot for his skill number 3 doing SS damage, or you can do Phantom Fall plus doing SSS damage. Alright, so lastly we have Ildon. So Ildon is personally my target for this banner because he is a reliable row farmer. He has a 5 BP, 5 to 7 BP, so 5 BP A damage for row that does slash and pierce element, and then he's just all critical. So he guarantees to do critical on human and beast, and then he also improves his damage whenever he does critical, both with ability number 1 and ability number 2, and then up front without doing critical, that he has 50% damage up, with tension 6 being 30%, and then high lethal tension being 20%. And then he also has a one-shot AoE either for round 1 or round 2. So round 1 would be his skill number 3, and then round 2 would be the Tornado Blade plus from his free S style. And then he is, I would say, a usable single target farming with inherit from his free S style, the Dragon Slayer. He can do an 808 rotation, so he can do critical to human and beast, and then with Dragon Slayer, I believe that does critical to dragon, if I'm not mistaken. So he would be able to benefit from his abilities, if anything. But if not, 50% damage passive is still pretty good. And then with 16% extra strength, that he would be pretty good. He would be a pretty good farmer overall. Alright, so that's the rundown for the banner. As much as I want to complete all 3 of them because they all would be able to help my account, especially for Short Sword, where I just did Deathmaster 15 up until this point because I'm lacking on DPS. So Ciato would be able to help in that department. But, playing it conservatively, I wanted to chase for Ildon, but that is my personal opinion. And because it's good for AoE and row and usable for single target. Although I was lucky enough to get Final Empress, that as you know in my review video for Final Empress, that she is the most flexible for farming because she can do AoE, she can do row, single target, and then column as well. And Ildon is just reliable and row consistently, and then for AoE he can be one shot or can default to Mirage Step plus. So it depends on what you need basically. And then Rastaban, even though as much as I want to get him for moral down and willpower debuff, if I get him before Ildon, then that's good. If not, hopefully I get him as an off banner in the future. I chase for Rastaban and JP because at that time I didn't have any character with moral down, so Rastaban was my first moral down character. And like I said, if you already have other moral down characters like say Doll, for example, who is pretty good by the way, with skill number 3 doing medium, and then skill number 1 doing a small and spammable at that Doll is way more than enough for your moral down needs. But if not, go for Rastaban. Or if you don't have any moral down characters yet, go for Rastaban. Moral down is, I would say, something useful for hard content. For Ciato, if you're lacking for Pierce element DPS, then yeah, Ciato would be reliable on that department. Yeah, that's my rundown of the banner. Hopefully, if you're pulling for the banner, I wish you good luck. And of course, this is the second part of the New Year's banner. So I wish everyone a happy New Year. Hopefully, if 2022 wasn't that great for you, hopefully 2023 becomes so much better. And I always believe that it can only get better. That if you're on a low right now, that it would get better. Only time would be able to tell when it's gonna get better, but definitely I believe that things can get only better. All right, thank you so much, everyone, and again, happy New Year, and appreciate all of you. And if I don't create any more videos for Romancing Saga by a couple more days, I'll see you in 2023 for the next video. um with that, thank you so much for listening, and see you in the next video or stream.